All right. So you're diving into the idea napkin, and you wanna take a bite out of your idea and make it something better. As you begin that work, I want to share a little bit of an idea, and I'm going to share it here with you, Mike, that I share with people when they're going through a workshop like this. If I'm in a workshop in the room with them, I want to make you feel like you're going through that same kind of thing. And this is to try and explain the power of something as simple, seemingly simple, as an idea napkin. I mean, there's only 6 questions on here. We've talked and we will talk about the power of asking the right questions and all that stuff. But and where this came from. I mean, this one got cooked up trying to help entrepreneurs who'd been laid off from BlackBerry in a workshop series in Waterloo, who said some of the other stuff like business model canvases and that kind of thing were too big. And those people and the facilitators were saying the same. And so it comes from a place that we'll tell you more about too. But I wanted to speak a little bit about just the power of this kind of framework and thinking. So where I'm going to start with that is with a story about my kids. So in my old house, we used to have a kitchen table. So pretend I'm sitting at my kitchen table here, and behind that kitchen table, we had a big mirror on the wall. Okay, and that mirror was something that we started. You can see them behind me. We started putting post-it notes for our kids on the wall. My oldest daughter, sorry, started being able to take an interest in letters and numbers, just that. And so I was like, well, that's kind of cool. I work with people and educate them, and it's my own daughter, my first kid. I'm super excited about this. And so what I did was I put the number one, like this guy here, onto a post-it note, and I put it up there, and I said, okay, kiddo, that's a number one. And sure enough, in enough time, she started repeating that back to me. I'd put that up there, and she'd say one. So I was super excited, right? So we went through the whole string, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, all the way to there, right? And I would say them to her, and she would repeat them back to me. So it was super cool. And so then I put this guy up there. What do you think she said when I put the number 10 up there?
Well, she hasn't seen the zero yet.
Good point. So then I went and taught her zero. So we put a zero right here. And so now she
Um,
knows zero and one. And
yeah,
then I put the 10 up there, and she
yeah,
goes, she goes, 1-0.
yeah.
Right? Of course she does. She knows the pieces, and I've rewarded her every time she did that. And so she said 1-0, and I was like, oh yeah, good job, kiddo. But actually, when you put them together like this, that's a 10. So she was like, okay, no problem, Dad. So every time I put that up there from then on, she would say 10. And then we went through 11, 12, 13, all the way up to 20, and we stopped about there. When she was a little kid, I stopped about there. But there's a big difference between what she had done up to that point and, for example, if I show you this, right, you know that that's the number 257. Everybody watching this video knows that that's the number 257. But if I put that on the wall for my daughter, even though she'd learned all the way up to 20, she'd say 257. Even though she kind of knew it probably wasn't because the other one wasn't 10 or 1-0, it was 10.
Right.
So my point is, everybody watching this video knows something that she didn't know, right? And that something is the decimal system, right? They know, everybody watching this, we all know that the two is the hundreds column. I had to turn around to make sure I get it right. The hundreds column. The five is the tens column, and the seven is the digits, right? We all know that system. But
Yeah,
until we learn that system, we're memorizing, just like my daughter was, right? But when we know it, we could go up to the billions. We may not be able to conceptualize really huge numbers, but we can count as high as you want to count because we know that system, right? And it's super powerful. So what's
yes.
that got to do with this? I want to take you back real quick to a story of one of the first times I ran this kind of thing for a group of people. And these two young women were pitching a new venture concept. And to keep it short and fun, they pitched a toilet seat. And so what would happen is when guys would, or when anyone would walk into the room, the seat would go up. Okay. And then when guys came in, they could step on a little button and the other seat would go up. And then, so both seats would be up for guys because they pushed the little button on the floor. And then no matter who left the room, guys or ladies, both seats would go down. So their thing was, this is going to solve the problem of newly married. Their pitch was newly married couples whose wives are just figuring out that guys leave the seat up all the time. And that was their pitch, right? And they made this pitch, and I had a panel of people there to judge and give feedback. This one guy, he's like, I got to go first. I want to give some feedback first, because they had a sketch and a pretty good pitch. And so he did. He went first. And he's like, first of all, good pitch. I like the visuals, no problem, he said. But here's the thing you got to do. And he starts telling me, he said, what you want to do is not sell online to newly married couples, because that's a good gig. I get it. I understand what you're trying to do there, because you've identified a market and a pain. He said, but what you want to do is you want to get into the luxury home builder market, and you want to sell it to luxury home builders. So you want to go up the value chain. And so he described this, and he went through some other things, and he talked them through because he had some experience with that. Anyway, these two young women come in and pitch the next time to another panel. And the reason I tell you all this is they came in and they repeated everything he'd said to the next group. And it was perfect, like just perfect. Like it sounded great, but as soon as it came, like the whole thing, like luxury home builder, value chain, they're talking about, reaching the customer, they're talking all these right things, channels of supply and partners and the whole thing, but just because that's what he said. But the thing is, when they started asking questions of these two, it all kind of fell down. They didn't know it. They'd only memorized it, just like my daughter who memorized that was the 10, right? And didn't know how to build it. She didn't know the whole system, right? If you will. She didn't understand that was the hundreds, the tens, and the ones, and could go. So they couldn't go beyond what they'd memorized. So as simple as this seems, and as simple as every one of these is, and that you can understand them separately and on their own, the thing as a unit, it becomes a powerful framework, a powerful tool for making those leaps in understanding that, that this affords us if we're just learning numbers, right? And that this can afford us, right? Because once you teach that group, I talked with those two young women again that were coming in with that product, it was a really cool product. You teach them the idea napkin. Already they can make great leaps just by, and then you grow from there to the idea model, and then down the road after, you do the things in this course, you'll do a business model canvas and a business plan and all that. You'll be able to make those great big leaps, but if you don't get the fundamentals down, if you don't have the building blocks, you can't do that kind of stuff, right? And you can't make those big leaps. You're just memorizing bits and pieces, which is what we kind of do. We get excited about our business and we come in, we write little bits and chunks of business plans, or the person lending money at the bank asks you this, so you memorize that or get it figured out and memory. But having the holistic picture and having the frameworks, this being the very first of them, allows you to make those great big leaps. Whatever kind of product or service or experience you're trying to design, tech or not tech, it doesn't matter. It's those frameworks for the leaps in understanding. So
that is great. Those are great examples. They create structure. I get it.
Exactly.
Really, really good.
Exactly. So I wanted people to have that little piece and be able to just sort of take it forward with, okay, Alex, now let me at it, right? They want to get at it, right? And so I'm going to give you one more quick one, again, building on my kids, but to make a point. So my daughter got this great big coloring book, right? So there's awesome coloring book, pens and all that in it. So here's the last thing, just to tie this to real world again, right? It came with all these little, like I'll just pick up one of them, this little color wheel, right? So you can figure out complementary colors, or you can figure out, I think the other one I'll show you is analog colors and stuff like that. And so again, just my kids are now 9 and almost 11, right? So it's years since that first example I told you. But this is another same kind of thing. By giving them a simple framework for analog colors, and the book teaches them, you can really improve the design of your coloring, and so, the equivalent of that to leap out of, and it did, the color, once they did that, the color schemes they had and all that, which because you develop websites and you do branding and design, right? But, that's the same as, I just wanted to show people this guy here, here's Adobe's color wheel, right? For coming up with exactly what we're just talking about, except for professionals doing graphic design, right? And it's these simple, important frameworks that allow us to make leaps in the work that we do. So anyway, that's my second example, just to not just have post-it notes on the wall, go a little bit deeper from, again, kid stuff, or fundamentals to stuff that applies in professional practice, right? And this guy is no different. Like I see leaps in my engineering students, I see leaps in the people, the entrepreneurs I work with